Thank you. Welcome everyone to a meeting of the Boston Region Metropolitan Planning Organization. I'm David Moeller, I represent Secretary Monica Tibbetts-Nutt here. You are invited to participate in our transportation planning process regardless of your race, color, national origin, including limited English proficiency, religion, creed, gender, ancestry, ethnicity, disability, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, veteran status, or background. You can read the full notice of your rights and protections at www.bostmpo.org/MPO_DISCRIMINATION. This meeting is accessible to people with disabilities. Zoom products are compliant with exceptions with the following standards: Web Content Accessibility Guidelines 2.1 Level AA standards, and revised Section 508 standards. If you require any additional accommodations in order to participate fully in this meeting, or if you have any technical difficulties, please contact Adriana Jacobson of the MPO staff at ajacobson@ctps.org or 857-702-3663. Or via the chat box. All participants will join the meeting with muted microphones. Please rename yourself to include your first name, last name, and affiliation. After a roll call, board members may mute and unmute themselves. Always remain muted unless actively speaking. To participate in the discussion, please select the raise hand function. Find this by clicking either on the participants button at the bottom of the screen, and a window will pop up with a raise hand button at the bottom, or the reactions button in the toolbar. The chair will then call on participants. If you are on the phone, you can use *9 to raise your hand. Please call the roll.
Absolutely. Mascot seat 1.
This is David Moeller. I'm here.
Thank you. Mascot seat 2.
Good morning, John Bouchard, sitting in for Jonathan Gulliver. Present.
Good morning. MassDOT Highway Division.
MassDOT Highway, John Romano here.
Good morning. MBTA.
Good morning. Sandy Johnson representing General Manager Phil Lang and the MBTA.
Good morning. Regional Transportation Authorities, Metro West Transit Authority.
Good morning. Tyler Charasi representing Administrator Jim Nee from the Metro West Regional Transit Authority present.
Good morning. Massport.
Hi, good morning. This is Sarah Lee representing Massport.
Good morning. MAPC.
Hello, Eric Barassa with the Metropolitan Area Planning Council.
Hello. MBTA Advisory Board. Next is
Good morning. It's Janice Wolikowski. I apologize. I'm commuting in, so I'll be on mute and in and out, but I am on the meeting.
Thank you. Stay warm. Advisory Council.
Leonard Higgins, Advisory Council here.
Hello. City of Boston, seat 1, please.
Row representing Mayor Michelle Wu in the City of Boston.
Hi. City of Boston, seat 2.
Hi, Nayeli Rodriguez, also representing Mayor Michelle Wu in City of Boston here.
Hello. At large city, City of Everett.
Good morning. This is Eric Molinari representing Mayor Carlo Di Maria in the City of Everett.
Welcome. At large city, City of Newton.
David Kozas representing Mayor Ruth Ann Fuller in the City of Newton.
Morning. At large town, Town of Arlington.
Morning, this is John Alessi representing Select Board Chair Steve DeCourcy and the Town of Arlington.
Morning. At large town, Town of Brookline.
Morning, Erin Chute representing Select Board Chair Bernard Green, Town of Brookline.
Good morning. Inner Core Committee, City of Somerville.
Good morning, Tom Bent representing the City of Somerville and the Inner Core, and Mayor Katiana Ballantyne.
Good morning. Minuteman Advisory Group on Interlocal Coordination, Town of Acton.
Good morning, Kristen Guichard, representing Acton Select Board Member Fran Arsenal for the Magic Subregion.
Good morning. Next is the Metro West Regional Collaborative, City of Framingham.
Dennis Gianvetti, representing Metro West, and Mayor Charles of Framingham.
Morning. North Shore Task Force, City of Beverly.
Darlene Nguyen, representing Mayor Cahill on behalf of the North Shore Task Force.
Hello. North Suburban Planning Council, Town of Burlington. Next, South Shore Coalition, Town of Hull.
Hi, Chris Diorio, representing Hull Select Board Chair Erwin Nessa.
Hello. Rachel Benson has emailed ahead of time. Three Rivers Interlocal Council, Town of Norwood.
Good morning, Tom O'Rourke from the representing the Trick subregion from the town of Norwood.
Good morning and thank you. We're going to go to Federal Highway Administration. And the Federal Transit Administration. Is there anyone in attendance that I've not yet called?
FHWA is here. Can you unmute Anthony Jones?
So Anthony Jones for Federal Highways representing. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony.
Anthony. Is there anyone else? Yes. Mr. Chair, would you like to recognize? Chris has his hand up.
We're just doing introductions. Is Chris a member?
No, Chris is not. Chris is from Highway, I believe. I think with that calls the roll. I'll pass it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is chair's reports. I'd like to take a moment to discuss something that's not on our agenda today. As you are all aware, at the last meeting, we had a motion to amend the tip for what we hoped would be an early action item on the Alston project. We tabled that motion to consider today. We have since decided that motion cannot be effectuated, and so we've taken it off the agenda. I'd like to first thank the MPO for all your assistance on this project and trying to move that amendment forward. I'd like to also, of course, thank the City of Boston for all their help with this amendment and with the project in general. They are a co-applicant on our grant and have been a co-partner on the project since its beginning and continue to work hand in hand with us to try to move the project forward. Same thing with the Federal Highway Administration. They've been supportive of this project, have helped us move it through the process to where we are today. The fact that we could not make our proposal effective is not a reflection of them. It's a reflection of it was a Hail Mary from the beginning, and it just wasn't able to be done. They are a valued and continued partner. So I'd also like to finally say that the fact that we can't move the Cambridge Street Bridge as an early action item is not a reflection of our commitment to the Cambridge Street Bridge project or to the overall Alston project. The Cambridge Street Bridge project will just have to remain a part of the Alston project, and we'll move through that process. But it has always been a commitment of ours. It was a commitment of ours separate from the Alston project, and then with the community and the city and all the other stakeholders, we agreed to make it part of the Alston project. It is a commitment of ours. We continue to move it forward, and we are as committed to it today as we were when we first proposed it. Are there questions? General.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And yeah, kind of reiterate our or echo your kind of words about, I'm glad we attempted this. Disappointed it didn't go through, but appreciate the collaboration and effort to bring it the possibility forward. I did want to just ask, you spoke, and I'm glad to hear about the continued commitment to the Cambridge Street Bridge as part of the project. We, even if we're not pursuing these like early action items as through the USDOT grant, we from the city side, still see value in some set of the project elements moving more quickly. Both the Cambridge Street Bridge reconstruction, the Lincoln Street sound walls, and the Franklin Street Bridge. We see these as, of course, important investments, as you've spoken to, and largely, separate or separable from the project as a whole and beneficial to the project and the community, even during construction. So I guess I was curious if you could speak a little bit to whether MassDOT is still pursuing opportunities to identify and move that subset forward earlier, and if anything there is being explored.
So we continue to work with Federal Highway about any possibility to move any parts of the Alston project forward in advance of NEPA. That will not be, the Cambridge Street Bridge project will not be part of that. The decision has been made that that is improper segmentation, okay, right? It's part of the project. It's under the NEPA, part of the project. It's going to have to clear NEPA with the Alston project. Actual implementation of which phases move first after we get through NEPA and we're in construction. That's a discussion to have for another day, right? I'm not an engineer, so I certainly can't make any comments about whether it's possible to move Cambridge Street as an early action once we're into construction or not. But the actual, can we move Cambridge Street as a separate environmental process decision has been made. And again, we knew it was a Hail Mary, okay? We weren't necessarily, it wasn't an unexpected outcome. It's an outcome that we were disappointed in, but it wasn't unexpected. And Federal Highway, made the call that I think they needed to make for their own purposes and to protect their processes. And it's not, again, for them, it's not a reflection on Alston at all. It's just a decision about segmentation and environmental rules and processes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other comments? Seeing none, time for the executive director's report. Take it.
Thank you, David. Hi, everyone. My name is Tegan Tyke. I'm the executive director of the staff to the Boston Region MPO. Glad to see you all here today. Next slide, please. In my executive director's report today, I'll just highlight some staffing changes, provide one update in the engagement space, and then do a usual preview for you of today's agenda, and then cover the meeting dates for the following meetings. Next slide, please. So we have announced this in the past, but the date now is approaching. So Ronak Basu, who is the current manager of multimodal planning and design, his last day will be at the end of this calendar year on December 31st. So we are actively recruiting for replacing his role, but wanted to make sure folks were aware that that last day is now approaching after he announced it a little while ago. And so again, if you want to congratulate him and wish him well on his new endeavors, please do so. On the other hand, we will have 2 new staff starting on January 6th before our next MPO meeting. Those include Dorcas Okaija, who will be joining us as a senior transportation planner in the aforementioned multimodal planning and design group, as well as Olivia Sakosha, who will be joining us as a regional planner focused on the UPWP, reporting to the MPO activities group. And then in addition, not on this, I have recent news that we've been able to hire a replacement for the manager of the MPO's planning and policy team. And Elena Eon will be joining us later in the month on January 27th. Next slide, please. So as part of our ongoing engagement for the Vision Zero Action Plan, we are now collecting feedback on safety concerns through a public survey and an online comment map. That survey and the access to the comment map will remain open through the end of January, and we'd really appreciate both for you all to fill out comments and also to help us spread the word to your communities. So we've just shared a link in the chat, and please help us share that link and share communications about the invitation to provide input through this Vision Zero forum. And as always, please reach out to Ali Clayman if you have any questions or any concerns or any additional information that you'd like to share related to the Vision Zero work in this particular opportunity. Next slide, please. Okay, so for today's agenda, next slide, please. We'll have a number of items that you see on the slide here that are listed on the slide here. First, Sophie Fox will present a work scope to carry out the Title VI required equity analysis for 3 seasonal ferry routes that have been introduced into MBTA service. So we will ask for your vote to approve that scope of work. And then next, Erin McGuire will come back to you with a request to endorse Amendment 1 to Destination 2050, which is the MPO's long-range transportation plan after the completed public comment period. This amendment included a project bundle related to the MBTA's Green Line Transformation Core Capacity Program. Then Ethan LaPointe will ask you to vote to endorse Amendment 4 of the federal fiscal year 25 to 29 TIP, again after the completion of a public comment period. And that amendment included a number of changes to the statewide highway program and the 25 to 29 transit program, including those just mentioned core capacity program elements. Then Ethan LaPointe will also present a requested amendment to program a federal discretionary grant through the Congestion Relief Program for MassDOT, MAPC, and the City of Boston. Eric Barassa from MAPC mentioned this grant at the last meeting, and due to the timing, they're asking that you consider the amendment with waiving the usual public comment period. And please pardon my cat, who's a frequent interrupter. And then we will end the meeting with 2 quarterly updates on major TIP projects, which include McGrath in Somerville, presented by Mass DOT, and Rutherford in Boston, presented by City of Boston staff. And as a reminder, I think you'll hear this in the committee chairs reports soon. Project readiness discussions will continue at the TIP committee meeting later this afternoon, which starts at 1 p.m. after today's MPO meeting. Next slide, please. All right, the next meeting date, we have elected to cancel the January 2nd scheduled MPO meeting. So please note that that will be canceled and we will send a reminder. And then the following meeting dates will be on January 16th and February 6th, as usual at 10 a.m. and they will be virtual. Thanks very much. That's all I have, Mr. Chair, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Tegan. Any questions for Tegan? Seeing none, next item on the agenda is public comments. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment at this time? Seeing none. Next item is committee chairs reports. Are there any? Jen Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As Tegan preluded, the TIP Process Engagement and Readiness Committee will meet at 1 o'clock today. At this meeting, MPO staff will share a first look at the universe of projects list, which you can also find posted to the meeting calendar today under the TIPper section. And they'll preview what they anticipate as an encouraging uptick in project applications. They'll also walk us through the first quarterly project readiness update. This update is a new practice intended to provide a more regular check-in on the status of regional target funded projects. Staff will focus on the major capital projects and also projects that are funded in the upcoming federal fiscal year. And this will give members an early heads up about where we may see delays and provide an opportunity for questions and discussion. Finally, staff will also present an initial overview of how our current TIP criteria treat compliance with the MBTA communities law, as well as several approaches that the board may consider as more municipalities reach their deadlines for compliance. While we don't anticipate having time for in-depth discussion this afternoon on that topic, we do expect it to come up again in the new year, likely at a to-be-scheduled January or February TIP committee meeting. And meanwhile, you can go ahead and mark your calendars for the next scheduled meeting of the TIP committee. That's March 13th at 1 p.m. So again, meeting at 1 p.m. today, and then you can mark your calendars for a meeting on March 13th. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing many of you again this afternoon.
Thank you, Jen. Any questions for Jen? Seeing none, are there any other committee chairs reports at this time? Okay, the next item on our agenda is an action item on the approval of the minutes for November 14th, 2024. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the minutes? And please state your name for the record. Eric Barassa.
This is Eric Barassa, and I'll make a motion to approve the November 14th meeting minutes.
Jen Rowe.
I will second that motion.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Are there any comments, changes, questions, or suggestions? Seeing and hearing none, please call the roll.
Certainly. David Moeller,
Yes.
John Bouchard,
John Bouchard, yes.
Don Romano,
John Romano, yes.
Sandy Johnston,
Sandy Johnston, yes.
Tyler Terrassi,
Tyler Terrassi, yes.
Sarah Lee,
Sarah Lee, yes.
Eric Barassa,
Eric Barassa, yes.
Hannah Switlikowski,
Hannah Swillikowski, yes.
Len Diggins,
Diggins, yes.
Jen Rowe,
And Rowe, yes.
Nayeli Rodriguez,
Nayeli Rodriguez, yes.
Eric Molinari,
Eric Molinari, yes.
David Kozis,
David Kozis, yes.
John Alessi,
John Alessi, yes.
Aaron Shute,
Aaron Chute, yes.
Tom Bent,
Tom Bent, yes.
Kristen Guichard,
Kristen Guichard, yes.
Dennis Giambetti,
Dennis Giambetti, yes.
Darlene Nguyen,
Darlene Nguyen, yes.
Chris Diorio,
Chris Diorio, yes.
Melissa Tentakoulis,
Melissa Tentakoulis, yes.
Tom O'Rourke,
Tom O'Rourke, yes.
motion carries. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is an action item for the work scope on MBTA ferry service equity analysis. Sophie Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. My name is Sophie Fox, and I'm a data analyst with the MPO staff. Today, I'll be presenting a work scope for a ferry service equity analysis for the MBTA. This work has a budget of $62,000, with funding coming from an MBTA project and will last about 4 months after work commences. The MBTA is subject to Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which protects people from discrimination based on race, color, and national origin. When the MBTA introduces a new service, it is typically required to perform a service equity analysis to ensure that this new service does not introduce adverse effects. An adverse effect is defined as a disparate impact on populations protected on the basis of race or ethnicity, or a disproportionate burden on low-income populations. The MBTA has recently introduced 3 new seasonal ferry routes to their service and has requested that MPO staff evaluate whether this new service has created adverse effects on these protected populations. The service change will be measured in 2 ways. The change in the amount of service provided as measured by revenue vehicle hours, and the change in system coverage as measured by the percentage of the population that lives within a half mile of an MBTA stop or station. MPO staff will develop scenarios that represent the system before and after the service change and evaluate relevant demographic data to measure potential disparate impacts or disproportionate burdens. Our results will be delivered to the MBTA to support their compliance with the Title VI requirements. We request your approval of this work program and are happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. Questions for Sophie? Seeing and hearing none. Can I get a motion in a second to approve this?
Oh,
I'm sorry, Danielle, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
I did have a question for Sophie. So I was wondering, Sophie, if you could clarify that this analysis is used to study the impacts of a change that was already made or that is going to be made, like based on your analyses?
This, the new service is already in place. I think in the last few years, the new routes have been introduced to the
Okay.
MBTs.
And what will be the actions in that case that you'll take based on the analysis results?
Well, I think we don't have any action, I don't believe, but we will be showing these results to the MBTA, and then they.
And Sandy has his hand up and can try to help answer that question. Go ahead, Sandy.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to refer most of the technical questions to Dave Perry, who's our director of Computer Ferry, who I believe is here. But I just want to say, I believe we're doing this now because these are seasonal routes that have not yet been in operation for the total amount of time you have to do an equity analysis, like something along the lines of, again, I'm not an expert. You have to do it before they're in operation for a year, and they have not yet cumulatively been in operation for a year. So we will be taking the results in from staff as they're completed and ensuring that they're in alignment, obviously with federal requirements and MBTA policies and values as well. But Dave, if you're here, would like to invite you to speak to any other questions, if that's all right, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
Yes, good morning. David Perry, Director of Ferry Operations for the MBTA. Sandy hit it on the head. The services have run as pilots for seasonal portions of various years. And so as we investigate continuing to expand those services in terms of their duration on the calendar, it's time now to do the equity analysis.
Lynn, do you have a question?
I was just going to make the motion, so.
All right. Is everybody ready for the motion? Any other questions? Seeing none, Lynn, please.
Just want to
Oh, wait.
apologize for my Wi-Fi going out.
No worries. I saw you were frozen.
Sorry.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll be happy to make the motion to approve work scope, express my delight over the new service. Thank you.
Yep. Is there a second? Eric Barassa.
I'll second the motion, Eric Barassa.
Thank you. Motion have been made and seconded. Please call the roll.
Yes. David Moeller,
Yes.
John Bouchard,
John Bouchard, yes.
John Romano,
Yes.
Sandy Johnston,
Sandy Johnston, yes.
Tyler Terasi,
Tyler Terasi, yes.
Sarah Lee,
Sarah Lee, yes.
Eric Barassa,
Eric Barassa, yes.
Hannah Switlikowski,
Hannah Switlikowski, yes.
Len Diggins,
Diggins, yes.
Jen Rowe,
Jen Rue, yes.
Nayeli Rodriguez,
Nayeli Rodriguez, yes.
Eric Molinari,
Eric Molinari, yes.
David Kozis,
David Kozis, yes.
John Alessi,
John Alessi, yes.
Aaron Shute,
Shoot, yes.
Tom Bent,
Tom Bent, yes.
Kristen Guichard,
Kristen Guichard, yes.
Dennis Giambetti,
Dennis Giambetti, yes.
Darlene Nguyen,
Darlene Nguyen, yes.
Melissa Tentopoulos,
Melissa Tentopoulos, yes.
Christy Ario,
Cristorio, yes.
Tom O'Rourke.
Tom O'Rourke, yes.
Motion is carried, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is an action item on Destination 2050 Amendment Number 1. Erin McGuire.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Erin McGuire. I'm a long-range transportation planner on staff to the Boston Region MPO. If we could go to the next slide and then the one after that. Oh, never mind, back one. Today, I will be reviewing the content for the MPO's Long-Range Transportation Plan Destination 2050 Amendment 1 and request for the board to endorse this amendment. On November 21st, the board voted to release the amendment for a 21-day public comment period. There's a memo posted to the meeting calendar that provides additional information on the bundle of projects included and information about the circumstances that led to the requested motion today. So this amendment proposes the addition of a 17-project bundle sponsored by the MBTA to transform the Green Line in preparation for the Type 10 cars. This amendment will include this project bundle in the list of recommended projects in the long-range plan, which is a fiscally constrained list. The project bundle is estimated to cost $3.3 billion, and the MBTA is pursuing half of this cost through the Federal Transit Administration's Capital Investment Grant Core Capacity Program. In order for the T to pursue the next steps of this grant program, the bundle must be reflected in this region's long-range plan, in addition to our Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP. As the funding source is a federal discretionary program, there is no overall impact on the MPO's own discretionary regional target funding. If we could go to the next slide, please. The MPO board voted to release Amendment 1 for a 21-day public comment period on November 21st, and this comment period lasted from Friday, November 22nd to Friday, December 13th. During this period, we did not receive any comments. Finally, this brings us to today's motion, where MPO staff request that the board votes to endorse Destination 2050 Amendment 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Any questions for Aaron? Seeing none, can I get a motion and a second to approve this amendment as presented today? Jen Rowe.
I'll motion to approve this amendment and just quickly reiterate our support for the package of investments that will collectively transform the Green Line into a modern light rail system. We really look forward to collaborating with the T as these projects progress, particularly to make sure that we invest in the streetscape that supports riders of all abilities in their journey to these Green Line stops. So thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Eric Barassa.
Eric Barassa, I will enthusiastically second that motion.
Motion having been made and seconded enthusiastically, please call the roll.
Yes. Beginning with David Muller,
Yes.
John Bouchard,
John Bouchard, yes.
John Romano,
John Romano, yes.
Sandy Johnston,
Sandy Johnson, yes, and thank you to staff and the MPO for helping us get this through. We are very excited about this.
Tyler Terrassi,
Tyler Terrassi, yes.
Sarah Lee,
Sarah Lee, yes.
Eric Barassa,
Eric Barassa, yes.
Hannah Swidlikowski,
Hannah Swidlikowski, yes.
Len Diggins,
Diggins, yes.
Jen Rowe,
Denver, yes.
Nayeli Rodriguez,
Nayeli Rodriguez, yes.
Eric Molinari,
Eric Molinari, yes.
David Kozas,
David Kozas, yes.
John Alessi,
John Alessi, yes.
Aaron Shute,
Aaron Shute, yes.
Tom Bent,
Tom Bent, yes.
Kristen Guichard,
Kristen Guichard, yes.
Dennis Giambetti,
Dennis Giambetti, yes.
Darlene Nguyen,
Darlene Nguyen, yes.
Melissa Tentopoulos,
Melissa Tentopoulos, yes.
Christy Orio,
Mysterio, yes.
and Tom O'Rourke.
Tom O'Rourke, yes.
Motion carries, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dave. Next item on the agenda is amendment number 4, I think. Yeah, 4 for the 2025 to 2029 tip. Ethan Lapointe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everybody. I'm Ethan Lapointe. I'm the Transportation Improvement Program Manager for the Boston Region MPO. This first action item is for Amendment 4 to the federal fiscal years 2025 to 29 tip. We can go on to the next slide and the one after that, please. As was mentioned earlier in this meeting, Amendment 4 not only includes some changes that were just discussed as part of Amendment 1 to Destination 2050, the MPO's long-range plan, but also some elements in other parts of both the federal fiscal years 2025 through 2029 transit program, but also within the 2025 statewide highway and earmarked discretionary programs. The statewide highway projects, as a refresh, that was a cost reduction on an interstate resurfacing and bridge preservation contract for I-93 and I-95, and then a cost increase for a resurfacing contract for Route 9 in Brookline and Newton. On the earmarked discretionary side, Amendment 4 also includes a discretionary grant award for the City of Boston as well for this Roxbury Resilient Corridors effort through the USDOT RAISE grant program. On the transit program side for the next slide, in addition to the capital investment grant opportunity that the MBTA was pursuing, which was covered in UPWP amendment, or not UPWP, LRTP Amendment 1, Amendment 4 also incorporated, if we can go on to the next slide, please, additional changes to other elements within the MBTA's formula programs for Section 5307, Section 5337, and Section 5339 FTA federal funds. These were all consistent with different changes proposed for the larger capital investment plan that the MBTA has. And again, just to reiterate, this includes the elements for the capital investment grants, a separate entity included in that long-range transportation plan amendment, and then also these other capital investment plan projects that are also part of the amendment there. So if we can go on the next slide, Amendment 4 had a full 21-day public comment period, which commenced on November 25th and concluded on December 16th at 5 p.m., during which staff did not receive any public comments. If we go on the next slide, staff are requesting that the board votes to endorse. On the next slide, please. Amendment 4, we're happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ethan. Any questions for Ethan? General, you have a question?
Of just an expression of gratitude on behalf of the city, to this board, and especially to Ethan, Adriana, and others on MPO staff, who've put all the work in these past few months to prepare and execute so many of these amendments, that are really enabling the flow of funding that our federal partners have committed to these projects. I don't remember a time personally where we've had this many amendments before December, and the work to really keep track of all of them and share the information with this board, often on really tight timelines, has been really no short of valiant. And it'll take years to realize a lot of these changes to the streets and infrastructure on projects like Roxbury Resilient Corridors. But I did want to take the opportunity now to really recognize and commend staff and the board for keeping this project in motion, and as well as so many others that stand to benefit residents in our region.
Thank you, Jen. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, can I get a motion and a second to approve this amendment as presented today? And please state your name for the record when making the motion. Eric Barassa.
Eric Barassa, I'll make a motion to approve Amendment 4.
Tom Bennett.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Please call the roll.
David Moeller,
Yes.
John Bouchard,
John Bouchard, yes.
John Romano,
John Romano, yes.
Sandy Johnston,
Sandy Johnston, yes.
Tyler Terasi,
Tyler Terasi, yes.
Sarah Lee,
Sarah Lee, yes.
Eric Barassa,
Eric Barassa, yes.
Anna Switlikowski,
Anna Swilakowski, yes.
Len Diggins,
Diggins, yes.
Jen Rowe,
Row, yes.
Nayeli Rodriguez,
Nayeli Rodriguez, yes.
Eric Molinari,
Eric Molinari, yes.
David Kozis,
David Kozis, yes.
John Alessi,
John Alessi, yes.
Aaron Shute,
Aaron Chute, yes.
Tom Bent,
Tom Bennett, yes.
Kristen Guichard,
Kristen Guichard, yes.
Dennis Giambetti,
Dennis Giambetti, yes.
Darlene Nguyen,
Darlene Nguyen, yes.
Melissa Tintaklis,
Melissa Tintaklis, yes.
Chris Diorio,
Chris Diorio, yes, sorry.
not a problem. Tom O'Rourke,
Tom O'Rourke, yes.
motion carries, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dave. Next item on the agenda is, I believe, amendment number 6 to the tip. Ethan Lapointe, and then I think Eric Barassa is also going to speak on this, but Ethan, are you first?
Believe so, I think.
Okay, take it away.
Okay, thank you. This next amendment is Amendment 6 to the federal fiscal years 2025 to 29 tip. If we can go on to the next slide, please. And the one after that, as was mentioned earlier in the meeting. Amendment 6 includes one change, and this is within the earmark discretionary program for federal fiscal year 2025 to program a congestion relief grant award, which is awarded to the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, but will also include project proponents being MassDOT, I believe is the lead, and also the city of Boston as well. Specifically on the next slide, to look at the full scope, this award was for $21.6 million with a $5.4 million of match. That matching fund is coming from a variety of different both state and local sources. And this grant will support both local public transit initiatives within the city of Boston, but also expansion initiatives for the regional Blue Bike system as well. It's also worth noting that MAPC had provided their grant application narrative for members to reference as part of this MPO meeting, and you can refer to the MPO meeting calendar to read that narrative for the full scope of different projects and work types proposed to be funded through this Link Up grant program that is being administered. And if we can go on the next slide again, due to time constraints, MPO staff are requesting that the board votes to waive the public comment period to program this grant project and therefore endorse Amendment 6 outright at this meeting.
Thank you, Ethan. Eric, you want to talk about this amendment?
Yeah, let me, Ethan, thank you. Wonderful job explaining this. Let me just discuss this a little bit. I'd also like to give the city of Boston, maybe Jen or if Matt's here, an opportunity to talk about some of the initiatives. So there are 4 initiatives in this grant. There's funding for an expansion of the Blue Bike system. There's funding for new transit services in the city of Boston that will be operated by several transportation management associations. There is the development of a trip planning and payment application. And there is a research component focused on mode shift and incentives to shift single occupant vehicles to transit. And the majority of the funding is going to the Blue Bikes and the transit initiatives. For Blue Bikes, this we're hoping that this will result in an additional 290 pedal bikes at 32 new Blue Bikes stations. The siting of these stations are yet to be determined. That will be the process, the planning component that's incorporated here. It will also include 90 e-bikes at 32 electrified Blue Bike stations. So those will be stations largely, I think, in Boston and Cambridge that will be connected to the grid and will facilitate the 700 e-bikes to be able to be charged without battery swapping, which is a big operating cost. So that is the focus of the Blue Bikes component. And let me pass it to Jen or Matt to talk about the other components that will largely be City of Boston initiatives.
You're
Sure.
gonna believe Matt is on.
Matt, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Matt Moran with the City of Boston Streets Cabinet, Transportation Department, lead the transit team here, and formerly was on the MPO for the city. So good to see everyone again. Just wanted to highlight some of the transit components that are within this grant. So we have an exciting opportunity to use this grant to really connect some first mile, last mile destinations within the city of Boston that right now don't have great access to that first mile, last mile transit. So 3 neighborhoods would be covered through existing programs that are being developed by different different TMA operators. So Alston, Brighton, Seaport, and Charlestown. And those not only will support residents that live in those areas, but also people who are commuting into those areas. And we've been coordinating closely with the MBTA around especially those 3 locations. We have 2 more locations, Mattapan and Grove Hall. The initial recommendation was that those would be a micro transit type solution, but based on some feedback that we've received from MPO staff, from city staff, we are looking at some other options that might be more of a circulator, but we're open to ideas and suggestions, and we think that there's some flexibility within the grant. And those 2, Mattapan and Grove Hall, would be largely to connect residents who are today distant from the rapid transit network, who because of topography are distant from buses, the existing MBTA bus routes, to places like the Mattapan Trolley, to the Fairmount line, to the main branch of the Red Line at JFK or at Ashmont. So again, looking forward to hearing your thoughts and feedback on this, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Matt. Any questions from the MPO? Lynn Dickinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I mean, 2 questions. You mentioned a narrative, Ethan. Was that made available at another meeting or with today's meeting materials?
Let me check. That may not have been posted in the proper location, or it may have been omitted, but I can make sure that is posted on the calendar file.
Okay, because I didn't see it. I didn't know if you were referring to a previous set of materials. I mean, can anyone speak to the research that's planning that's going to be associated with this?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit. So that is still yet to be completely fleshed out, but the focus will be on a body of work that looks at what are various incentives to encourage mode shift from single occupant vehicles to transit. I think the exact geography, whether that will be more inner core focus or the entire Boston MPO region, is still to be determined. And we're also in conversation with CTP, with MPO staff playing a role with that. And again, we actually need to have a conversation with Federal Highway Administration about the grant. And we're in the process of scheduling that.
Great. Research is good, so I'm always curious. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, as previewed by Ethan, this motion is to waive the 21-day public comment period and approve this amendment as presented today. Is there a motion and a second? Please state your name for the record. Eric Barassa.
Eric Barassa, I'll make a motion to approve this amendment as presented today.
Lynn Diggins.
Lynn Diggins seconds the motion.
Motion having been made and seconded, please call the roll.
David Moeller,
Yes.
John Bouchard,
John Bouchard, yes.
Don Romano,
Yes.
Sandy Johnston,
Sandy Johnson, yes.
Tyler Terrassi,
Tyler Terrassi, yes.
Sarah Lee,
Sarah Lee, yes.
Eric Barassa,
Eric Barassa, yes.
Hannah Switlikowski,
Hannah Switlikowski, yes.
Len Diggins,
Diggins, yes.
Jen Rowe,
Jen Rowe, yes.
Nayeli Rodriguez,
Nayeli Rodriguez, yes.
Eric Molinari,
Eric Molinari, yes.
David Kozis,
David Kozis, yes.
John Alessi,
John Alessi, yes.
Aaron Shute,
Aaron Shute, yes.
Tom Bent,
Tom Bent, yes.
Kristen Guichard,
Kristen Guichard, yes.
Dennis Giambetti,
Dennis Giambetti, yes.
Darlene Wynn,
Darlene Wynn, yes.
Melissa Tantakis,
Melissa Tintakis, yes.
Chris Diorio,
Mysterio, yes.
and then Tom O'Rourke.
Tom O'Rourke, yes.
Motion carries, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dave. I unfortunately have to step out for what I hope will only be a few minutes, so Eric's going to take the chair, but I believe the next agenda item is a presentation on Rutherford Avenue. Chris Cameron, whenever you're ready.
Thanks. Morning, thanks for having me. Do we have the presentation or do you need me to share it?
Chris, you can keep just motioning next slide when you're ready. Thank
Okay.
And
I'm Christopher Cameron. I'm with MassDOT Highway Division Major Projects section, and I took over this project in late 2022. It's the 607981 McGrath Boulevard project, reconstructing McGrath Highway Route 28 in Somerville. Next. Just going to give a quick project overview, an update on where we're at in the design, our project status and next steps, and then we'll have some Q&A.
Chris, before I have you continue, I know Brad has his hand raised. I just wanted to know, Brad, did you want to just give any context before this, or do you want to wait until after Chris to talk about just the coordination with the city and everything like that?
Thanks, Chair. Why don't we do that at the end? I appreciate it. Let's let the project team do the presentation. If it's okay, I'll do a little context and history afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Chris.
Next slide. Next, please. So just for some context, for those that aren't familiar, or just an update on the project limits. So there's a map on the right showing, we kind of visualize it as three distinct segments of the project: south, central, and north. This project bisects several communities. We have Union Square to the southwest, Prospect Hill to the west, Winter Hill to the northwest, and then East Somerville and Brick Bottom, both to the east of the project. And this overpass and highway kind of bisects that. along with the railroad. So it basically extends from 3rd Street in Cambridge all the way up to Broadway in Somerville. Next. So this is just a quick timeline overview. Project's been going on for a long time. Started with identifying the overpass as being in need of repair or replacement back in 2011. Out of that came a grounding McGrath study looking at possibly removing the overpass, bringing everything to street level. That eventually evolved into a working group that MassDOT led in collaboration with Somerville, starting in 2015, doing a lot of public outreach, figuring out the preferred alternative for what this corridor would look like. And out of that came a boulevard with a kind of green space median, a lot of green space along the outside, and a lot of multimodal accommodations and connections. And then in 2018, the McGrath Boulevard project actually was programmed into a regional transportation plan. And then we've been working on design basically since 2021, advancing from scoping through pre-25 and now currently under 25% design review. And there's TIP funding available starting in 2027. So we'll get more into that next. And this is just an overview of that public outreach that's been going on for a long time. As I mentioned, 8 working group meetings, 2 PIMs, and as many as 10 targeted briefings. Most recently, we did kind of an over-the-shoulder discussion with some of the Somerville community advocacy groups. We've also coordinated with Livable Streets Alliance, MassDOT district offices of D6 and D4. And then Tufts University and Somerville were both hosting some presentations by the project during the grounding McGrath portion. We've gotten consensus among stakeholders for a preferred alternative, and then we've also got the project successfully programmed in the TIP. So some successes there. Next slide. Reasons why, as I mentioned, the viaduct is structurally deficient, need of repair or replacement, and then the highway is essentially overbuilt for the current vehicle volumes and the purpose it's serving, and then a lot of accessibility concerns. Next. Just a very vehicle-focused corridor at the moment. So we're looking to do a number of safety improvements to support Vision Zero objectives. Major focus of the project is improving neighborhood connections. So allowing people to get to nearby amenities between residences, businesses, to and from work, to and from downtown Boston, to school. So looking at sustainable transportation options, resilient infrastructure to support climate change initiatives, and then accessible design that removes barriers such as the overpass. Next. And next. That's a current view of under the overpass at Washington Street. This is a very large zoomed out color rendering of what the corridor is hopefully going to look like. And then a couple of zoomed in key intersections. We made some significant design changes at these locations. There was a slip lane going from Somerville Ave down to Medford Street that's been removed at the request of the city. Some lane configuration changes at Washington Street. They've implemented bus lanes there. Next. And then also at Medford Highland Ave intersection and Broadway, we're showing the bus lanes that have been implemented on Broadway. And then we've reduced the number of turning lanes at the Medford Highland intersection and improved bike lanes there. Next. This is a conceptual rendering of what the corridor can look like. We're showing 2-way cycle tracks, a lot of green space, some horizontal separation and vertical separation for bikes and peds. And then the current configuration, which is 2 travel lanes each direction. Next. Showing how the space is allocated. This is, as you can see, a vast improvement from the sea of pavement that's out there now. Still a lot of transportation infrastructure, but it's serving a lot more users and user modes than it currently is. Next. And then this, actually, if this was PowerPoint, it would fade from the existing to the current. So we'll just do a quick jump to the next slide. This is the overpass at Washington Street. A lot of construction going on there now, but visual barrier. And then if you jump to the next one, we'll see that vanish, hopefully. Next slide. And there, it's gone. Very walkable, very open, green, just a livable space. So that's kind of a transformative visual of how this is going to change the community. Next slide. Similar condition at Somerville Ave looking north. You can see the overpass on the right, and the next slide will show it without the overpass. And then also a lot more space for pedestrians and bicycles. A lot more green space on the outsides, some green space in the median. Next. Now the stuff you guys are here to learn about. Project status and where we're at. Next. So here's our current price tag of the project, broken out by segment. We got 18.6 for the north, 92.6 for the central, and 12.3 for the southern segment, totaling 123,448,000, 123,448,000. And then we've applied for a Reconnecting Communities grant with Federal Highway. We're anticipating results of that early next year in 2025. Our design status, we're currently under review of 25%. That was submitted October 18th and wrapping up review in January. And our current ad date is showing July 3rd of 2027. Next. We're planning to continue outreach. We've got PIM meeting we're anticipating having end of February, and then design public hearing in spring of 2025. We're going to continue our outreach with stakeholders. There's some environmental justice areas surrounding the project, so we'll be doing extensive outreach there, collaborating with the communities of Somerville and Cambridge. And then moving into, after we complete the design public hearing, moving into 75% and then final design, wrapping up in 2027 and moving to construction. Next. Any questions?
Thank you, Chris. Brad Rawson, I think you have either questions or comment.
Yes, thank you, Chair. If it's okay, I just want to make sure that MPO members know that there is a deep and historic partnership between Mass DOT and the City of Somerville on the McGrath Boulevard project. We, all of us, have been working on this, Chair, as you know, since at least 2002. I have a technical memorandum produced by MPO staff in our files dated 2003. As our technical staff at MPO were helping Mass DOT plan for alternatives in the McGrath corridor. I have been personally working to support this major investment at the regional scale since 2007. And so after years of community advocacy and this great interagency team, we came up with a preferred alternative at the planning stage, and our MPO first voted McGrath Boulevard into the long range plan, and actually in 2015, which is incredible. For several years, McGrath was on the TIP universe, as many of you remember. and it ranked as the highest scoring project in the TIP universe. But agency and community advocacy continued for several years before we were able to formally integrate McGrath into our official TIP in the 23 to 27 year. So, Chair, I just want to reiterate what Chris said. Calendar year 2024 has been exceptionally productive for this project and very collaborative. Our partners at Mass DOT have worked with the city to advance the design towards the 25% milestone, which veteran members of this MPO know has been the target that we're shooting for many, many years. We've got to reach 25%. This MPO needs a more reliable cost estimate. We need to position ourselves for grant writing opportunities like the Reconnecting Communities grant that Chris referenced a moment ago. So we're really excited about all that to move into the formal permitting. So I just want to say a very public thank you to all the members of the MassDOT staff, the consultant teams, past and present, who have shown a great deal of creativity and progressive thinking on this project. And Chair, you'll remember there have been some really hard moments. We experienced 3 fatal pedestrian crashes with Somerville residents killed crossing in marked crosswalks on McGrath or the adjacent Route 38 in the project corridor between 2019 and 2021. The trauma of those fatal crashes has helped the Mass DOT team and the consultants team move in a much more human-centered direction with best-in-class proven safety countermeasures integrated into this project. It is really abnormal and out-of-the-box thinking for Mass DOT. And I just want to give a real tip of the cap to all of you who have been working hard to make sure that McGrath Boulevard can live up to our Vision Zero commitments. I also want to really give credit to the MPO staff and the MPO board chair and just publicly say thank you for your tolerance, hearing us as broken records advocating for our community and for the region as a whole with this project. We definitely still have a long way to go, and the city will continue to partner with Mass DOT and the rest of our regional partners to achieve the best, most human-centered, transit-centered design for McGrath as possible. So lots of work ahead, and I'll be eager to take notes and respond to any questions in partnership with Chris to make sure the MPO board has the information it needs. Thanks again.
Thank you, Brett. Any other questions or comments from members? Tom Bent.
Just pretty much ditto to everything Brad just said. But I also wanted to mention, this is a, looking at the slides, and it's very impressive. But it also ties in with the previous work that the Mass DOT and the MPO has done, bringing the green line. One of the stops is right behind the building in this picture here, and the other stop in Union Square, and what that's done for, bringing in development and more and more users for the green line. And then once we get McGrath down to a boulevard level, it's going to just transform this whole section of the city. So again, you don't really notice it until you start looking at the renderings. And Chris, these renderings look great, and want to thank everyone on all their work. And just want to make sure that the city, Brad and I, want to continue to stay part of this and work with the team to make sure everything's moving along smoothly. But thank you.
Yep. Any other comments or questions at this time? Oh, Chris Diorio.
Hi, thanks. Yeah, as a former employee at the city of Somerville, I remember talking about this project back in 2007, 2008, and just hats off to Brad, Tom, and everybody over there. It was, kept the ball rolling with this thing. It's going to be a really transformative project, and I think it's great to see it coming around.
Thank you. Melissa Tintaklis.
Chris and everyone, I was just going to echo that, because that's when I came actually to Massachusetts to Massachusetts from California. Working in Somerville was my first job, and this project had been talked about. It was so exciting, and it just seemed like a pipe dream. And to just the credit of perseverance and determination by folks like Tom and Brad and the community who's been consistent about this. I'm thankful that this board and the people around it and the funding has supported it to this point, and will bring it to fruition.
Thank you, Melissa. Any other questions or comments at this time? Seeing none. Thank you, Chris. Excellent presentation.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Yep. Next item on the agenda is a presentation on, this time on Rutherford Avenue. Vineet Gupta.
Good morning, everybody. Really appreciate the opportunity. Just wanted to make a couple of introductory remarks while the presentation is being loaded. As many of you know, this project also, much like McGrath, has a long history. It's gone through 3 mayoral administrations here in Boston, but I've been lucky to have been at the helm all through. So it's gone through many ups and downs. But throughout that process, we've been lucky that we've been able to work with Mass DOT fairly closely, as well as with our surrounding neighbors. So Somerville, Everett, Cambridge, and even Chelsea. So I just wanted to give a quick overview of what the status of the project is. So I'll focus on 2 major areas. I will be sharing a concept design, which we now have a final concept design. Much progress has been made this calendar year to get to that stage. So I'll be sharing some key features of that design. And second, we will also we made good progress as well on charting out a very detailed schedule of how this project will move forward in the coming years. And of course, as I just mentioned, underlying all this is, and you'll hear this theme throughout my small presentation, of the coordination that we're doing with surrounding communities and with the state agencies, particularly Mass DOT. Next slide. So Rutherford Avenue, particularly Sullivan Square, is at the nexus of several intermunicipality planning and design efforts. What the map on the right shows is our key corridors relative to bus service. Many of these corridors will have, through the bus network redesign process, will have high frequency routes with service at sometimes 8, but at least 15 minutes intervals a day. Just very quickly, there is the connection into Sullivan Square from the Cambridge Street and Washington Street side. There is the Broadway connection, that is the orange line, orange on the map, that is. And then, of course, there is the Alfred Street Bridge connection that is also very important, as well as internal to Charlestown, the Bunker Hill Main Street area. There are also regional connections with the bike network, and these are listed below. I don't want to spend too much time on those, but fundamentally the improvements that we make at Sullivan Square and along Rutherford Avenue will provide a connection to all these different regional corridors for people on bikes. So that was on the regional side. There's of course a local side. Next slide. And we've been working very closely with Charlestown. And this is as you can imagine, a significant opportunity for the better transform the western edge of Charlestown. Most importantly, when this project is complete, there'll be better connectivity to the neighborhood for people in buses or on bike, or most importantly on foot as well. Particularly today, as you know, Rutherford Avenue provides a huge barrier to get from Charlestown to the western side of the corridor, where we have the community college, but also the community college Orange Line station and the Sullivan Square Orange Line stations. And better, safer pedestrian connections will be available once this project is finished to those amenities. This will make a huge difference for the community. Similarly, there'll be increased access to open space, and I'll talk a little bit about a Southwest Corridor style bike and pedestrian path that's going to be installed on the neighborhood side. I'll get to that in a second. We're also, and this is through City of Boston funding, we'll be looking at potential cut-through traffic in the neighborhood because we are downsizing the corridor, and we want to make sure that we are making engineering investments and improvements to deter any additional traffic through residential streets. There's also the issue of flooding. So there's a focus on increased resiliency. As some of you might know, there is a flood corridor near Sullivan Square, near the Shaft Center. And so we are working with the Environment Department and other city and state agencies to understand how this project can address that significant flooding issue in the coming years. Next slide. I'm not going to share our current concept design. Just a reminder to everybody that we now have a surface design for the entire corridor. In other words, we are eliminating all underpasses at the one at Sullivan Square and the rotary that exists there, as well as at Austin Street near the community college intersection. I'm going to first share what the concept design has for Sullivan Square itself. Starting at the bottom of the drawing, you can see that there is a center running bus lane, which comes up to Sullivan Square. As the next bullet explains, this is a very significant move. This is the connection to the Alfred Street Bridge. We are going to have continuous general purpose travel lanes from Rutherford Avenue that connect up with the bridge. In addition, we are going to have, as you can see, kind of towards the middle of the drawing, but to the left of the Alfred Street Bridge connection, we will have a separate right-of-way for buses, as well as for a multi-use bike and pedestrian path. So that comes to the next bullet about safe, comfortable bike lanes. On the right-hand side is that continuous path on the neighborhood side. This is all the way from the Alfred Street Bridge down Rutherford Avenue to the North Washington Street Bridge at City Square. And this would be a continuous connection for all the other different regional corridors that are connecting to it, particularly along the Mystic River, where there's an existing path here. We're also working hand in hand with the MBTA. As you might know, they have a maintenance facility between Arlington Avenue and West Street, just to the west of this Alfred Street Bridge connection. And they have a master plan in the making for that large parcel or set of parcels. And so we've been working hand in hand with them to make sure that we are coordinated. It's not visible on this map, but on the top right-hand corner, if we had a little more space, we would have shown Ryan Playground, a very popular park in Charlestown. And so this project will improve connections to it. The next slide shows what we have for the intersection at Austin Street. Again, there is the center running bus lane with 2 general traffic lanes in each direction. Sorry, 3 in this case, particularly as you approach the intersection. On the left-hand side is the connection to Gilmore Bridge to the west. On the right-hand side is Austin Street, which goes into the heart of the Charlestown neighborhood. In this particular sketch, because it's zoomed in a little more, you can see the multi-use path on the right-hand side, precisely because we have eliminated the underpass and there's no need for both sections. We now have more space to make this a very generous multi-use path, much like the Southwest Corridor in kind of the South End and Jamaica Plain area. There is also an ongoing design process for the Gilmore Bridge, and we are going to make sure that the work that we do at this intersection is well coordinated with the vision that Mass DOT has, as well as the city of Cambridge, for that bridge. There's also the need to coordinate with development parcels. And I should have mentioned this for Sullivan Square as well, that as a result of the new street grid that we've proposed, that the concept design shows, there will be a number of development parcels that we are working with the Boston Planning Department in terms of how they're going to be made available and when. Excuse me. And then, of course, Austin Street connects to the improvements that we are making at Thompson Square in the middle of Main Street. So that was just a glimpse of the progress that we've made on the concept design. But we have also, next slide, we have also taken this design and done an evaluation with traffic modeling. And we've done this essentially using as the first bullet shows, with a full build-out scenario, a 30-year full build-out scenario using the regional long-term growth projections from CTPS. And we've done this in the context of proposed development in the master plan for the area, Plan Charlestown. So there's significant new square feet of development being proposed in Sullivan Square, and actually along the western edge of Rutherford Avenue itself. And so we've done extensive traffic analysis. This has been shared with Mass DOT. We've both in terms of the assumptions behind the modeling, as well as evaluating the results of that traffic model. So this is a process that we made sure is agreed upon by all parties. I just wanted to mention that. The next slide just provides a quick glimpse of the kind of regional coordination that's going on. This is a sample agenda that I pasted here in the slide. We do monthly meetings with Cambridge, Somerville, Everett, particularly. Massport is also involved as our MBTA and MassDOT. We also have, as part of this coordination process, kind of spin-off meetings, including, for example, a few weeks ago, we had a meeting that was focused on the Cambridge Street Bridge. These discussions are extremely important because we want to make sure that all the different projects that are in this part of the city are coordinated in terms of scheduling, in terms of design overlaps, and the like. The second area that I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting that we made good progress is the schedule. So the next slide shows where we are, what activity will be engaged in the next calendar year in 2025. If you go to the bottom of the slide, you'll see that by December of 2025, we will have 25% design plans, as well as a construction cost estimate based on that 25% design. And of course, to get to that, from January to October, we'll be taking all the steps that MassDOT would require us to do to make sure that everything is being reviewed at the right times, and that we are getting to a 25% design that is one that can be easily reviewed and approved. The next slide shows where 2025 fits into the overall schedule. So 2024, we did all the concept design development. We have a concept design right now. We will be using 2025 to get to 25%. To get to the bottom of the slide, we are anticipating to advertise in May of 29 with the bid opening in August, early fall, and we're confident that we can start construction in 2029. And of course, to get there, we'll have about a 2.5-year process to do 25 to 100%. So this is our current schedule. I should mention that joining me today are Beth Parent and Kyle Whiting, both from Tetra Tech, who have been who have been helping us get this schedule kind of worked out in detail, and they have shared a monthly schedule with Mass DOT to show how we're going to get from where we are today to construction. The next slide is shows the current allocation of TIP funding. We anticipate, as the asterisk shows, to be moving everything by a year to fiscal year 29. But this is how it's currently scheduled in the TIP. That was my last slide. I just wanted to, actually, there's one more slide I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention. I just wanted to let everybody know that we are hiring. I'm going to be hiring a full-time project manager for this project. The position has been posted on our website for a couple of months now. This person will also help us do all the regional coordination that I've just been talking about. So if anybody knows anybody who's interested in getting into the complexities of this project, it's a great career choice. So with that, thank you. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Vineet. Questions for Vineet? Seeing and hearing none.
I think Melissa has
I think Melissa has her hand up from her previous comment on
Yes,
McGrath.
sorry about that. I'm going to take it down.
And,
No worries, Melissa.
happy to, if not in this meeting, meet up with anybody on the Boston MPO team and membership to answer any detailed questions. We are very excited at this point to be finally at a stage where we are confident we can get to the finish line. And we've got support from this administration, from the mayor personally, as well as from our senior leadership within City Hall.
Question from MPO staff, MPO members? Seeing none. Julia Wallers.
Yeah, hi Vineet, hi everyone. Julia Wallers here with MAPC. I tried to raise my hand earlier to say sort of a similar thing about McGrath, but also Rutherford. Just so almost like emotional feeling to see these projects move forward after so many years and so many efforts on so many people. So just congrats to everyone who has brought both of these projects to these points. With regards to Rutherford Ave, I definitely feel twinges of excitement when I see those center running bus lanes. One question I had, and I don't know if there's an answer to it at this point where the project is in design, but is there an expectation that the project cost will be significantly different as a result of filling the underpasses rather than restabilizing them? I recall from previous iterations that there was some significant utilities and electrical sort of mini big dig style work involved in filling the underpasses. And I don't know how accurate that was, but where are we with that? What are you thinking, Vineet?
Let me answer that in another way. I think that one of the issues that we have with the underpasses, because the city of Boston owns them, is maintenance. And so this is an issue when there's a big kind of rain event. It's an issue during the winter. And currently we are spending a lot of money maintaining these overpasses, and we've had in many instances, underpasses in many instances.
Right, you've had to close them because of safety issues, right?
Yeah, so we have a very good idea as to what happens when you close these underpasses. So that's one of the main reasons that we think, other than all the open space benefits that we get from eliminating them. In terms of the construction costs, I mean, Beth wants to jump in, but I think we'll have a more accurate idea when we're at 25%, because then we'll be able to get some good estimates. So we are probably not in a position right now but we're hoping to finish within the budget for sure. It's a significant budget.
Thank you, Vineet.
Right.
Other questions or comments?
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Seeing none. Thank you, Vineet.
Thank you, David. Good to see everybody.
You too, Vineet.
Cheers.
Next item on the agenda is member items. Are there any to come before the MPO at this time? Jan Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just would like to share some exciting news that Boston Public Schools was tentatively awarded a $35 million grant from US EPA's Clean Heavy Duty Vehicles Grant Program for 125 electric school buses and associated charging equipment. Other awards in the region we learned from MAPC also included Hamilton Wenham Regional School District, Hingham Public Schools, and then I believe the state also received a grant statewide. We're working with MPO staff and MassDOT to prepare a tip amendment based on feedback from Federal Highway and aiming to vote to release that amendment at the January 16th meeting, and then following a final vote to endorse on the February 20th. But wanted to give everyone a heads up that that's coming and share the good news.
Thank you, Jim. Sandy Johnston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to make sure that we mentioned that, as I'm sure many folks here know, phase 1 of the MBTA bus network redesign went live last Sunday, the 15th. I have heard generally very good things about how that rollout has gone. That affects routes mainly in the kind of inner North Shore area, Malden, Everett, Chelsea, Revere, East Boston, and some routes in Somerville and Cambridge, and bring new frequency and different patterns of service to many of those routes. If folks have any questions about how that's going or the effects on riders, please feel free to reach out. I know our service planning and operations teams have been hard at work and out in the field educating riders for the last 2 weeks or more, and we're really excited about how that's going.
Thank you, Sandy. Nayeli Rodriguez.
Hi, everyone. I've been on this meeting for a couple of weeks now, but just wanted to take the chance to introduce myself. I'm the Director of Resilience and the Built Environment in the City of Boston's Environment, Energy, and Open Space Cabinet. And along with my colleague, Jen, I was asked to serve on this board to represent the city and Mayor Michelle Wu's kind of all-of-government approach to addressing climate change, including through the city's infrastructure, investments, and interagency collaboration. So I'm really looking forward to continuing to represent in this group and helping to embed our commitment to climate change, mitigation, environmental quality, and resilience in these conversations. So just wanted to take
Excellent.
a second to introduce.
And we're happy to have you on board. Thank you so much. I would just like to note for the record what a great meeting this was for me, because both the bus network redesign and the grounding of McGrath were projects that initiated in the Office of Transportation Planning at MassDOT, and it is, anybody who works in planning knows it's always wonderful to see something actually come to fruition. So any other comments or member items at this time? Seeing none, can we get a motion and a second to adjourn, and please state your name for the record? Eric Barassa.
Hi, Eric Barassa. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Yeah, great meeting today.
Lynn Diggins.
Leonard Diggins seconds.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Without objection, we are adjourned. Don't forget, we're not meeting on the 2nd. We'll see everybody on the 16th. Thank you all so much.